Hello. Good morning, sir. Good morning, Griswold Ground. I hope you're not texting and driving. Texting and driving. My router, my internet might be a little off. Let me check this out. Open the door. Maybe the door helps. Maybe that helps. So I just made a video, I guess inspired by the brotherhood thing and other things, but it's more like a video log. My internet is flaky. Why? Let's see if I can fix that. It's not working. All right, seems okay out here. Let's see. I have a kitten. My kitten showed up in my video this morning. Young cat. My family shows up in the audio. I took a test, and they told me things I already know, like I'm task oriented and I need to practice loving people and focus more on my relationships with people. So if any people want to get on and help me practice loving people, that would be cool. Also interested in the trying to know God together thing. So that's what I talked about in my video is philia, but it's connected to brotherhood, fraternity, sorority, things like that. Let's see. If anyone hops in, I'll have to have these on to be able to hear you. I don't know how to entertain people. Let's see. I could talk about what's been going through my mind. What's been going through my mind is that the mind can get out of control. And so it makes a good servant, a terrible master. Anecdotus. Anecdote. First, I need to look it up. So this is an interesting, people use fancy words around here. A short, amusing, or interesting story about a real incident or person. So my wife's uncle died yesterday. There you go. So you guys enjoy life. You can end at any moment. He left behind his wife and 3 children. The children are older and out of the house. But yeah, we love Uncle Rich. But there was a story. There's a bunch of stories about Uncle Rich. I like to call him Uncle Dick. We were similar in that regard. But when thinking about Uncle Rich this morning, it reminded me of Colorado. So my wife's family is from Colorado, and before I married my wife, her parents took me out on like a vacation, and they basically paid for everything. And so the first time I went to Colorado, we went to Steamboat Springs, and I decided I want to snowboard. And so my wife's sister also brought her boyfriend. So I was going to snowboard with him. And their cousin Alex was going to teach us. And so we went up the main lift at Steamboat Springs, and he's just like, go. So he didn't really teach us. And what I ended up doing is falling down and sliding on my back, going probably what felt like 30 miles an hour downhill, seeing the lift above me and digging my heels in, trying to slow down. And so that was my first experience. But I'm remembering that one because I've been listening to Christians, and some of them have thrown out this term backsliding. And if you've ever slid on your back down a ski slope, like I have, then it gives you an experience, a relatable experience about what backsliding might look like. Because, if the path of that slope, not the slope, what do you call it? Ski trail? No, that's not right either. But if you go down that thing and it starts curving, you could just go flying off the edge, right? Going 30 miles an hour and go off an edge. You could also run into other people. So yeah, I think in this corner, there's maybe a lot of talk about trying to climb up a hill. I don't know how much talk there is about backsliding. Backsliding is scary and dangerous, and you can hurt yourself, you can hurt others. Quite the experience, and I don't recommend it. I also have another story in Steamboat with cousin Alex, and I think we were doing some underage drinking, and we decided we were going to go tubing at night. And so drunk on a tube going down the slopes at night. Nobody else there except like my wife and cousin Alex. I think my wife's sister was there, but that was bad. We, my wife and I were riding the same tube, and we did go off the side of the trail and went into an embankment going like 30 miles an hour. Again, I was like trying to dig my heels in to slow down. This a phrase, digging in your heels, means something when you're backsliding. So I'm backsliding on a tube with my wife, digging my heels in, trying to dig my wrists into the snow. And we went. And I remember cousin Alex, as we're going, I could hear his old drunk voice in the corner. He's like, "Oh man, y'all are screwed." I think he said the F word. And we went off. I'm going backwards. My wife's in front of me. We dropped into the embankment, and we dropped probably going 30 miles an hour, dropped, maybe only about 7 or 8 feet, and then hit that embankment. My wife goes into me, my back goes into the embankment. I look to the side, there's a tree over here and a tree over there. It's like I could have been impaled. And I was so sore. I was black and blue all over my back the next day. Felt no pain at that moment. But yeah, lots of stories. Yeah, these near-death experiences, I feel like are or these close to death experiences can be insightful. If the USA were to outdo the Giza pyramids, the big one, what would that look like? Giza pyramids, let's look it up. So this is called mobbing, and I am the driver, and you guys can be the navigator. So Giza, maybe I can pull up the photo. Maybe I can share screen. Present. Share screen. That looks like the Sphinx. Maybe there's some Giza in the background. The Giza necropolis. The big one. That looks like a big one. What I've heard is that if you turn around, there's like a city there. I guess it's Cairo. And so it's very strange. You've got a city right next to these old things. There's some city in the background on that one. We could probably go to like maps.google, and we could just, I was showing my kids this. Let's see. That you can just like drop in on places. Giza. I wonder where Giza is. Like if I just drop in right here, can we see Giza? No, that's not right. We're surrounded by trees. I bet I can type in Giza pyramid. Al-Haram. The Giza Pyramid's ticket office. So now we can go to Giza. Oh, so come on. Maybe I can do that. Pyramid Gardens. That looks like. Let's check in on the mob. Let's see. Why would we waste that much money? Good morning, Chad. For fun and glory, Neutrino. Giant buckyball. I know what a buckyball is. Buckminster Fuller sphere made out of like triangles. Cycle Club, hello. You're not sharing the screen with us. Oh, well, that's good to know. If that is what you and yours want, we won't stop you from building it. Yes, please, thank you. A better pyramid in our land would sink into the ground as we are a delta country. Yeah, I was trying to see the pyramids from maps. Pyramid Garden sounds interesting. That's a pyramid garden. I had a friend who went to Egypt, and he said that the men would walk hand in hand, like they would hold each other's hands and walk, and their women would walk behind them. It's a different culture, but something like the brotherly love comes to mind there. Sphinx International Airport. Pyramid of Djoser. I could probably ask GPT-4. It's like, how do you get to the pyramids of Giza? So we'd have to figure this out if we were there. Has anybody been there? Can anybody navigate me? Let's see. So there's the Sphinx, you would think. The ticket office. I wonder if these pictures are, let's see. So that's where this was taken, maybe? Boom. The little man's not moving around. Why would they build these things? It seems like there could, like, my mind would want like a some function. It would have to actually do something useful. But that's my mind. I mean, if you actually have a worldview where you're trying to worship your God, you could build these things to try and help get connected to God, right? Whether through the afterlife or through the whatever. Boom. Street view. Oh, there's it is. We were just blocked by some buildings. So there's the Giza necropolis and the Great Pyramid of Giza. Let's drop in right here. Oh, man. It won't let me drop in. There we go. So it feels like we're there. Notice that they're wearing white. I bet that helps with like the sun. He's not wearing white. You know, I don't know if you guys ever wore a dress, but you know, the man's dress would be a robe. It'd be cool if robes were back in fashion, like a good linen robe. That would be nice. I don't know if we can bring the linen robe back, make it a real thing. Let me know in the comments. Would you wear a linen robe? Let's see. Good morning, Richard. I think Grizz was displeased with my elephant rope. It's funny that the campus pastor last night mentioned he tried to point at this blind elephant kind of game. So his point was that we all see different things and have different perspectives and different blind spots. Let's see. I don't know how you integrate all the different perspectives, though. It's like we like to talk like we want to do it, but it's actually quite hard. Type pyramid of Khafre. I'll come back to this upcycle. I like the giant buckyball idea if you make it from stainless steel or something that doesn't decay. It was sand for ages. Monuments to a dead god king. Demonstrations of royal power. This is in response to, what are these things for? It's in the middle. Upcycle new. Let's see. Kick off the tube trend, Gavin. Call it the Gavin robe. The robe trend. I mean, I wore a dress 2 times in my life, and it was very comfortable. And so a robe, it would be great. Assalamu alaikum. What am I supposed to do with this, Tayo? Maybe I look it up. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Salam alaikum is a greeting in Arabic that means peace be upon you. Alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. I gotcha. I'm sure I mispronounced it. All right, let's check out what the request upcycle type pyramid of Khafre. Let's see what this is. Kafar, pyramid of Kafar. What is it? Pyramid of Kafar. Nice. So it's basically surrounded. You got housing. I guess there's some openness over here. We could watch a kayaker go over some falls in the Nile. The Nile flows north, right? It's like the only river that flows north. And maybe in the past it flowed in a different way. Khartoum. Khartoum sounds like the, what's that? John Carter movie. Sounds like something out of that John Carter story. It was a good story. I read the book and I watched the movie. I liked it. Let's see. Chicago River goes north. I watched Kuruluş Osman, the Turkish historical drama series. Very good. Does anybody want to chat? Instead of, I mean, you can keep driving me. I can be the smart input device. That's what it's called when you're mobbing. I'm just a smart input device. And hopefully I'm smart enough not to get any strikes against the channel here. Let's see. Let's see if my my video got uploaded yet. Nope, still processing. I called it Filio 2023 1113. recorded from outside. I was trying to be influenced by Chad. He's recording outside. Gets a little chilly, and I was wearing my flip flops. Peace be upon you. Where to next, people? Let's see. Let's seek rivers that flow north in Google. Let's see. Good idea. Well, it's kind of a weird interface here. Let me go back. How about I just not use Google? Rivers that flow north. I did use Google. Lena, Nile, St. John's, Yoigini, Yenisei, Red River, Athabasca, Ob, the Chutes, San Pedro. I wonder how many don't flow north. It's probably a bias. In the United States, there are at least 48 rivers spread across more than 16 states that flow from south to north. This includes approximately 9 rivers in Alaska and 8 rivers in the state of Washington. I wonder if they taught me this in school. There's a lot of things they teach you in school. I remember being taught that deer can't swim, and I got angry at the teacher because I had seen a deer swim. And so these public schools will teach you things like that. Yeah, Upcycle nailed it. Got a few of them. Chad, I'd hop on and chat, but I'm working in kitchen with homeowners around. Yeah. I wonder about that. Like if you like, you could just walk around talking. I was like the one that I've been saying, and I kind of like, I don't know if it's something you should say out loud. I was like, hey guys, I know God. It's like, what if you walked around telling people that? What would they think? Do the grim grizz look, the facial expression? Is there such a thing as a non-flowing river? I think they call that a lake or a pond. Some of the rivers move very slowly. And then some rivers can go different directions with the tides. So as the tides change, it could flow in the other direction. So it can change direction based on the tide right there close to the mouth of the river. And this is one of the rules of plumbing. They all flow from high to low. Yeah. I think the people I heard said something like, shit don't go uphill. Something like that. All right. right, where are we going next, guys? Let's see if I'm needed. I'm not needed. Don't you want to feel needed? If you ever get a chance, you should go into public and talk to random people, asking them questions and record it. I remember Chad did that on his channel with a list of questions. It was pretty good. Find some abandoned cities. Chernobyl is one, right? List. It depends on how old they are, too, right? List of abandoned cities. List of ghost towns. Bodhi. Hashima Island. St. Elmo. I wonder who Elmo is. That would be, I'm curious what a St. Elmo is. Would they pronounce this Coffee County or Chaffee? Senor Elmo lies in the heart of the Sawatch Range, 20 miles southwest of Buena Vista. I've been through Buena Vista. Nearly 2,000 people settled in this town when mining for gold and silver. I wonder where the name Elmo comes from. Like, is there a St. Elmo? St. Elmo disambiguation. Erasmus of Formia, or St. Elmo, a Christian saint and martyr. He is venerated as the patron saint of sailors and abdominal pain. Erasmus, or Elmo, is also one of the 14 holy helpers, saintly figures of Christian religion who are venerated. There's also a Peter Gonzalez, or St. Elmo, and then a St. Elmo Brady, first African American to obtain a PhD in chemistry in the United States. There's a St. Elmo Society, a senior secret society at Yale. Founded in 1889 as part of the national fraternity Delta Phi, St. Elmo's is a member of the Ancient Eight Consortium, which includes 7 other original societies at Yale, Skull and Bones, for example. So they're mixing in the, you got some potentially, I feel like there's the confusion, like names get confused, these names. People want to connect different things to the same name. It's like, why? Let's see. Philia Temple. I'm not sure I want to look up that one publicly. Philia Temple. I'll do it where you're not looking. An island-based temple complex in the reservoir of Aswan Low Dam. There's also some fandom on Kanzaka. Philia was a priestess of the First Holy Order under Flare Lord. All right, let's do Philia Temple. Philia Island. Oh, I can't do that. I hopped off screen. The Philia Temple Complex. Island-based temple complex and the reservoir of the Aswan Low Dam, downstream of Aswan Dam and Lake Nasser, Egypt. Let's do it in Google Maps. Philia Temple. Aswan. Interesting. Lake Nasser. The High Dam. Oh, you can't drop a person here. They haven't taken photos here yet. You can drop. I want to look at this dam, the High Dam. Whoa. Whoa. The Soviet-Egyptian Friendship Monument. If you were wearing VR goggles, you could actually be standing here looking around, right? It's a 360-degree camera. That's a lot of detail. Let's go look at the one Gringos. Look at that. They've got things on their heads. Are these the mind reading instruments? They all communicate telepathically. They know who's trustworthy and who's not trustworthy. See what I did there? It's pretty wild. Let me check on the hive mind. Oh man. Phlebas says ice dams flow uphill. Ice dams. I don't understand the physics on that, Phlebas. Maybe it's freezing from the uphill, and so there's a I don't know how that happens. I don't know the physics. Gary, Indiana has some pics. Why would we go to Gary, Indiana? Bodie might be my favorite. Bodie. Is that the river? Phlebas. H2O expansion isn't flow. Elmo made it into sainthood despite his awkward voice. Is that the Sesame Street Elmo? It seems some sort of mining is the cause of many ghost towns. Yeah, it's or just call it economic activity, right? So changes in economic activity can cause a ghost town. I'm going to share an invite link just in case anyone's wanting to hop in. Rasputin is an interesting figure. Upcycle Club. Cool stream. Sun discs. Sun discs. This is the thing on their heads. Sun discs. How do you know that? Have you seen the new Russian Cathedral of the Armed Forces? It's a marvel. Very beautiful inside and out. I have not seen this. Russian Cathedral for the Armed Forces. Yeah, I just wonder about these things, and there's like a tension between trying to glorify something while people are without water or something like that. It's like it would be nice if the process of glorifying also brought with it good fruit. That would be nice. I should probably do my standard shout out to the convective heat engine. So there you go. Maybe we glorify and produce good fruit by transforming the desert. And then let's check out the Bodie River, or Bodie Ghost City, Ghost Town. How about that? Bodie Ghost Town. In Mono County, California. That's interesting. Yeah, I noticed when I bought my first house, they, my neighbor had a house that was worth less money. She bought it for less money than what we bought it for. So the price of the house changed. And I noticed that, hey, they had just built a road. And so your tax dollars can go and build infrastructure, which might increase or decrease the value of your house. That's one of the forces, one of the powers and principalities that create ghost towns. So a town could be like a body that has spirit. And it's like, is there any spirit left here? Is there any body left here? It's like a shell. It says, is it really a ghost? Maybe there's a better name than a ghost town. I remember seeing a YouTube video where someone bought a ghost town. So I guess this is a... Wow, look at that concrete. That looks new. The concrete looks new. Look at that ghost right there. Let's see. So there's a church in the ghost town. All right, let's check the hive mind. Phlebas says the Russian cathedral is grotesque. It's using fancy words on me again. Let's see, define grotesque. Comically or repulsively ugly or distorted. A very ugly or comically distorted figure, creature, or image. Let me check my... Yeah, just have to check. Make sure nobody needs me. I get a buzz on my watch sometimes. Grotesque. What a strange word. Grotesque. Read to us about Bodhi. Yeah, I can do that. Let's see. There's a spirit in there. There's a spirit there in Bodhi. Yeah, there was an investment. It's kind of like the artifacts. The Griswold Municipal Corpse. So I've heard this story. Like you have experiences in life. I don't know. I don't want to say the name because when I tell stories, And if I know someone's intimate story, I'm not a very good storyteller, and so I don't want to like I've been told like I don't do the story justice. So that's my problem. I'm not a great storyteller, but I need to practice. But so the grandmother, very loving, kind grandmother, loved and loving. Uh, some would even say holy. She she was uh, she was unable to move. She's in bed. She's surrounded by her family, and then her son, who lived a, many miles away, was able to say goodbye to her over the phone, and then she basically died after she heard her son's voice. The other family are around her, and then as she died, one of the people in the room felt a wind flow through her. One of the persons in the room, and so yeah, what was left behind was like a corpse, and you know what was it that came out of the corpse that flowed through the person who told me the story? That it went uh, through her and then up, something like that. So let's look at Gary, Indiana ghost town, and Bodie. So we're looking at ghost towns. And then hello, Michael. I saw you wave. Hello, sir. Are we having fun yet? Are we there yet? Let's see. I'm just going to read. I'm going to do Bodie Ghost Town, and then we'll do Gary Ghost Town. I'm just going to read about it. Let's go to the parks. Bodie State Historic Park is a genuine California gold mining ghost town. Visitors can walk down the deserted streets of a town that once had around 2,000 structures and a population of roughly 8,000 people. The town is named for W.S. Bodie, or Bodie, who had discovered small amounts of gold in hills north of Mono Lake. In 1875, a mine cave-in revealed a rich vein of ore, which led to purchase of the mine by the Standard Company in 1877. People flocked to Bodie and transformed it from a town of a few dozen to a boom town. In 1881, Bodie's bust began, and the town's population declined drastically. So that would be only like 4 to 6 years later. The town's population continuing to decline until only a few remained. Mining officially ceased in 1942. The final nail in the coffin for Bodie's township. 2 large fires in 1892 and 1932 reduced the town's remaining structures down to only 5% of the 2,000 structures that once stood. Only a small part of the town survives, preserved in a state of arrested decay. Interiors remain as they were left and stocked with goods. Designated as a National Historic Site and a State Historic Park in 1962, the remains of Bodie are being preserved in a state of arrested decay. Today, this once thriving mining camp is visited by tourists who continue to travel to Bodie from all over the world, just as they did back in Bodie's boom years. It's interesting that you would stocked with goods. Interiors remain as they were left and stocked with goods. It's like, I don't know if you left stocked goods there or not. Like maybe the state park put in some props. All right, so there's Bodie, and then we do Gary, Indiana ghost town. Or Neutrino. I remember your name, Neutrino. Gary. The city of Gary in Indiana, USA was once a prosperous steel town, but overseas competition and restructuring of the industry led to population loss of 55% since its peak. in the 1960s. Much of the city lies abandoned and it faces huge social problems such as poverty and ghettoization. It is estimated that a third of all properties in the city are unoccupied. So it's not a complete ghost, right? Look at this building. Union Station was a stop on the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. A postcard of Union Station in its heyday. This is an interesting word, heyday. Let's look that one up on the side here. Define heyday. The period of a person's or thing's greatest success, popularity, or vigor. Vigor? The denouement, the climax, the peak. And maybe there was a backslide to tie that in with the earlier anecdote or anecdote. In 1906, the United States Steel Corporation founded the city of Gary, just 25 miles from downtown Chicago. The Gary Works, on the shore of Lake Michigan, was the world's largest steel mill, and the city was built to serve it. The city was named after lawyer Elbert Henry Gary, the founding chairman of the United States Steel Corporation. The city grew steadily, driven by the steel works. Oh. So yeah, I'm thinking that convective heat engine, like it'd be interesting to try to build a city, at the end of the day. But it'd be nice to have a city that worships the one true God, the everlasting God. Then it should never be a husk or a corpse, right? And that would be nice. Let's see where we are. She met Joe Black. Bodie froze to death prior to the town growth. Not props. I've been there twice. A city built around mining the sky. Well, so yeah, I think Chad's pointing at the convective heat engine thing. Perhaps mining the heavens, something like that. But it'd be nice if it produced good fruit. And it would be nice if it was mining something that was available to everyone, where it's not like a precious resource. Steel or gold are rare. That's like the treasure on earth. I think there could be a treasure in heaven. It's something different than that steel or that gold. Yeah, my first house was in a city funded by tax dollars for military. And so it'd be nice if that city became a ghost town. You could have cities that were founded on either it gets a new spirit or that you no longer need these military cities. That'd be nice. All right, I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back in about, I call it 2 or 3 minutes. I'll be right back. Let's see. And I'll drop a link in case anyone wants to be here when I get back. And I'll throw in my little music thing. Do 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 do. Do 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 branding. That's the only branding I've made so far. Chad, I really liked your elephant video. It was good. I listened to it. That's what inspired my. I made a video and released it earlier, but it connected in like coincidentally with a kind of a side conversation about philia, philia, eros, agape. So there's different kinds of love. But Chad said, fresh water is precious element, right? So there's something called like scarcity. So it depends on what you value. Like if there's like an extrinsically valuable thing or intrinsically valuable thing. But I mean, the thing that's precious would be life. People are precious. People tend to do well with clean water and clean air and good food, good shelter, a good environment. So the the pattern throughout history has been that people who want to build a city go and steal, not STEEL, but STEAL. They go steal. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, I guess it'd be nice to be able to go into a desert and transform it. If you could go to the property that nobody wants and that nobody's using and transformed it, like that pattern is really nice. Like, Jesus went after the lost sheep. Like you can imagine your worst enemy, and to me, Jesus would go after that one and would transform it to be the one that is doing really good work, is completely transformed. And so it'd be cool to do that, that all of our fruit would be like that, including, going into a desert that has no life and then making it a place that is able to, provide for people. I mean, what else are you going to do? Are you going to go fight? You've got fight, flight, freeze, and surrender. I think Grimgriz uses a different F word there. So yeah, the fighting thing and the freezing thing. Like I like the pattern of going off into the desert, transforming it into something good. If someone comes in and tries to take it from you, you surrender, you give it to them, and you go do it again in another place that nobody wants. That seems like a good pattern. That's the pattern which embodies Jesus Christ, right? And we don't build cities like that. We don't build companies like that. That's not how we tend to do things. So it is a pattern that can probably be embodied in everything we do. I mean, we might do it a little bit. What are we looking at next? We can keep going. Let's see. They have a picture of the Jackson Five once lived at 2300 Jackson Street in Midtown. Moved from East Chicago to Midtown. So Midtown, what is Midtown? 97% of Gary's African-American population lived in the Midtown section, just south of downtown. That was prior to desegregation. It was a largely self-contained community as Blacks were largely excluded from downtown Gary. After Richard Hatcher became mayor, he set about a program of urban renewal for Midtown and encouraged minorities to inhabit other areas of the city. I can make my hair look like that, guys. Those are some fancy clothes. I like it. I wonder, like, who made these clothes? It's a nice costume. I see a guitar. I've driven through towns like this. Ooh, that's interesting. An abandoned church in Gary. The remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street, there's another Elm, was shot in Gary, as were Michael Bay movies Pearl Harbor and Transformers Dark of the Moon. All right. What do we say, Hive Mind? You can check Pyramiden Spitsbergen too. Pyramiden Spitsbergen. Let me check over here real quick. Make sure I'm not needed. Pyramiden Spitsbergen. Spitsbergen. Did you mispronounce that? There it is. Pyramiden Spitsbergen. An abandoned Soviet coal mining settlement on the Norwegian archipelago of Svalbard, which has become a tourist destination, founded by Sweden in 1910 and sold to the Soviet Union in 1927. Pyramiden was closed in 1998 and has since remained largely abandoned, with most of its infrastructure and buildings still in place, the cold climate preserving much of what has been left behind. Yeah, this weird. This word ghost and this word corpse. It's very strange, a little bit confusing. Like, I think our language is confusing. Since 2007, there have been efforts to make it a tourist attraction. The town's hotel was renovated and reopened in 2013. In summer, there is a population of 6 caretakers. Founded by Sweden and sold to the Soviet Union. It's interesting. There's a story, a guy who, near my hometown, where the state purchased his land from his family and built a rest stop. And then the rest stop closed down. And then the state ended up selling it back in the market. And he was thinking, I have connections to this guy who owns the land. And he was thinking, well, what if the state sold it back to him and his family, right? So they basically did, what's it called? Eminent domain. Yeah. See, the government can do eminent domain, buy something when it's cheap, hold it, and then sell it once it's expensive. That government. Pyramiden was founded by Sweden in 1910 and sold to the Soviet Union. It lies at the foot of the Billefjorden. Is the central fjord. A fjord is like a creek or river. It also can be a verb in English, I think, to fjord. Yeah, there's a bunch of words here. Like fjord is confusing, and archipelago is confusing. Named after the pyramid-shaped mountain with the same name adjacent to the town. A state owned by the state-owned Russian mining company, Arktikugol, which also owns the settlement of Barentsburg. Pyramiden once had over 1,000 inhabitants. Among its amenities were a cultural center with a theater, a library, art and music studios, a sports complex, and a cantina open 24 hours a day. It also had a primary school. The northernmost monument to Vladimir Lenin and the northernmost swimming pool were also found here. In 1996, a charter flight for Arktikugol crashed on the approach to Svalbard Airport with the loss of 141 lives. Let's check in on the hive mind. It's where you can cross a river, the fjord, the shallow spot. Archipelago is a chain of islands, right? Fjords are estuary related, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, Mcmasav. Mcmac. Define fjord. A long, narrow, deep inlet of the sea between high cliffs, as in Norway and Iceland, typically formed by submergence or a glaciated valley. Is fjord a word in English? Fjord is a borrowed word from Scandinavia. Let's see. Yeah, so maybe not the place to cross unless you're building a bridge. A long, narrow, deep inlet of the sea between high cliffs. It's very pretty. Look at these pictures. I think the Tennessee River has places like this where you have these high cliffs where you can go climbing. I can't arrow over. And then archipelago. Archipelago. A group of islands. There you go. Let's see. All right, people, where are we going next? Do you want to see what the world thinks is important? Go, like sometimes it's cool to go to go to a place in a private browser to see if maybe they, if you were just some stranger or newcomer onto that platform, whatever it is, you could see what you would face. Let's see if I can do something like that. New private window, and then present, share. There we go. And now we go private window. Freetown, Christiania. Oh, I'm the smart input device, so I'm not going to do what I want to do. I'm going to do upcycle wants to do. So you have Freetown, Christiania. Self-proclaimed autonomous community in Copenhagen. Cool. Simply the Staden is an intentional community and commune in the Christianshavn neighborhood of the Danish capital city of Copenhagen. It began in 1971 as a squatted military base. Its Pusher Street is famous for its open trade of cannabis, which is illegal in Denmark. Considered to be the fourth largest tourist attraction in Copenhagen with 500,000 visitors annually. This 1976 protest song, You Cannot Kill Us, written by Tom London of Flower Power, rock group Bifrost, became the unofficial anthem of Christiania. The flag of Christiania is a red banner with 3 yellow discs representing the dots in each. Let's see. Define ford. A shallow place. Yeah, so a ford and a fjord are different. So ford, F-O-R-D, is a shallow place in a body of water, such as a river, where one can cross. And then the F-J-O-R-D is different. Man, our language is confusing. So good point, McMo says, if Kierkegaard could have had free weed, he might not have been so depressing. I have not encountered much Kierkegaard. I encounter, who do I like? When Travis Bagwell releases something, I'd read that. Look at that. He needs someone to run his website. Golly. This is the thing. I know things about this, and it's like I want to help people who do it wrong. Come on, Travis Bagwell. And let's see. I wanted to look up this, and then it's like I'm curious what it's like to be someone else, right? Like if you go on the internet and you're someone else, like what's happening to your algorithm? Like, did they just hear me mention weed? They, whoever they are. Let's see. Wells in Africa. We were talking about water earlier. I built 100 wells in Africa. 100 water pump in African village. Pretty cool. One day ago. Village vlog with Borna. Fresh water is very nice, people. Oh. Got some girls on the home screen. Y'all notice that? That the algorithm somehow promotes girls? Only ghost towns recommendations are missing. Yeah, where's the ghost towns? I guess they aren't listening very well. There was an Elon Musk thing. I did not listen to it. I had a dream about Elon Musk. Like, I was in a race against Elon Musk. He's doing things, and you might not want him to win. Like, it'd be pretty cool if, like, the church tried to compete with Elon Musk to do good things. These people have ways of, like, messing with your mind. Like, I don't know how tuned in people are to things influencing your mind. And so if your mind is the master, and the environment is shaping the mind, then you become controlled like some kind of a puppet. But if you can worship God and try to serve God at every moment, then you might begin to notice the mind and what it does and how it gets shaped. But yeah. Oh, zombies. Mr. Beast is sus for real. All right, now I gotta go look up what sus means. Define sus. Sus is a slang word that means suspicious or suspect. It is used to indicate that someone or something should not be trusted. The word has been in use since the 1920s, and it gained popularity in the online multiplayer game Among Us. Players use the term to indicate that they suspect someone of being an imposter. The mind reading instrument. I mean, I'd really have a hard time with trust in general. I have trust issues. So it's like, oh, like, who is not suspicious? Tell me that. point me at anyone alive today that's not suspicious. That's not sus. It's like some of these labels. So once you see like that there's a plank in our own eye, and it's like the condemnation or the labels we apply to others, it's like they become almost meaningless. Like suspicious, or I remember the word bigot. Who's not a bigot? Show me one who's not. Show me someone who is trustworthy. Show me. Yeah. Let's see. McMo is sus for real. Exactly. So am I. I try not to be. Welcome, Nathaniel J. Franco. Nathaniel. Hello, Nathaniel. Is that your real name? Are you the character who makes up profiles? It's like all these, look at these profiles. We have a lot of profiles here. Upcycle. This is a great video and idea, by the way, that is related with water. Fog catchers in Atacama Desert. I think I've seen some headlines on this. Yeah, these I mean, there's moisture in the air, and sometimes it's visible. Yeah, Nathaniel has many names. I think he now has, if I'm remembering correctly, he has the name Father, but upcycle. It's low tech. Yeah, low tech's good. There is a thing about economies of scale where it's like low tech is good. There's a rule also, as simple as possible, right? But no simpler. or as simple as needed, but no simpler. Or maybe go the other directions. As little complexity as possible. Low tech's good if it works, if it does the job. There's always a trade-off. Thomas Sowell. There we go. Let's go check it out. Fog catchers in Atacama Desert. At first, I thought it was a typo, and you meant to say frog catchers. But then I was like, no, he meant fog. Atacama Desert. Not dessert, desert. Fog catchers are mesh screens that capture droplets of fog in Chile's Atacama Desert, which is famously dry with virtually no measurable rainfall. Fog traps are being used to provide water for drinking and crop irrigation in the parched regions. In Alto Patechi, near Iquique, there are fog traps that harvest 7 liters a day per square meter. But the project is for scientific research. In Charal, a municipality in the Atacama region, there are fog catchers whose water is bottled and also used for aloe vera production. The harvested water has helped the P. Blanca agricultural community in Chile, which is suffering a brutal drought and faces the threat of becoming part of the Atacama Desert by 2050. Very cool. Low effort, high tech. Right. Yeah. So you can, if you can build something that lasts and requires low effort, so it can have a high cost initial investment, and then it can have a low cost for maintaining. That would be nice. Those kinds of things are nice. In the in our modern world, sometimes we are short-sighted. We want companies may want to build something that gathers a lot of attention and then they sell it, but they're not necessarily building something to last 1,000 years. And if you, I guess in the Bible it talks about there being a reign, 1,000-year reign, REIGN. But yeah, building things to last 1,000 years, where you invest initially, and then all of a sudden it just like produces for us. That'd be nice. And then Chad mentioned, I'll bring it up too. He'd mentioned the coal. Chad's mentioned quite a few things. There's like a kind of coal that's underneath the rainforest in South America. And then he also pointed me at the importance of the fungus that connects the trees, and how like a lot of these trees, most trees, they wouldn't even grow without the fungus networks, the fungal networks. For me, part of the reason I'm interested in that convective heat engine and building cities is because there's not a lot of room in our modern world for example, like where would you create a Christian nation? And I guess that Christiania, is this a Christian nation? Freetown, Christiania? Right. And what would it look like? And then would I be included in it? Let's see. I saw something the other day called Conway's Law. I like this thing. Any organization that designs a system will produce a design whose structure is a copy of the organization's communication structure. And so I was looking at towers and architecture of buildings, buildings that for thousands of people, like the Khalifa, and how how narrow is its base, or how wide is its base. I think this law could even be connected to structures that we build as well, not just IT structures. Conway's law. I'll show you another one. There's the laws of UX. So you have these, I think it gets into like psychology, sociology, usability. Here's one, Fitts law. The time to acquire a target is a function of the distance to and size of the target. It's interesting to think about that with regard to sin or hamartia, or aiming and missing the mark. The tendency to approach a goal increases with proximity to the goal. I don't remember this one. The closer users are to completing a task, the faster they work towards reaching it. Providing artificial progress towards a goal will help to ensure users are more likely to have the motivation to complete the task. This could be dark arts, people. Let's see, Hicks law. The time it takes to make a decision increases with the number and complexity of choices, unless you throw a dice. Like, this could explain laziness and why people think in binary. It's like either ors. And so, like, the smallest number of choices would be 2. Maybe 1. You don't even have a choice. Be careful not to simplify to the point of abstraction. Break complex tasks into smaller steps in order to decrease cognitive load. I'm losing people. You got to tell me where to go, or I'm just going to go off. This one's an interesting one. The average person can only keep 7 plus or minus 2 items in their working memory. This is why I'm losing people. Let's see. Bubble. I am back from shopping. Welcome back. Upcycle. You can check out the story behind Julberg, the Christmas beer in Denmark. Julbrig. 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 Christmas beer in Denmark. I think we hit it then. J-Day, also known as J-Day in English, is the annual release of Tuborg's Christmas beer, Julberg. which is a strong dark Pilsner with a slightly higher alcohol percentage than a traditional lager. The beer is available on the first Friday of November and is only on the market for 10 weeks of the year. Joelbrug is a bottom fermented wiener. I received an invitation. It has a fresh aroma of caramel, cereal, licorice, and black currant, and works well with the Christmas lunch. J-Day is celebrated in 3 Danish cities and numerous countries, including Germany, Iceland, Sweden, Romania, Japan, Serbia, and Switzerland, sharing a touch of Danish snow and jubilee with beer drinkers all around the world. Sounds tasty. Does sound tasty. Maybe there's some, what's the story behind it? That's what we're looking for, right? Story behind. Everything you need to know about J-Dag and Christmas beer in Denmark. No, thank you. But thank you for the invitation. Let's see. What's Japan doing in there? Yeah, good question. Few people in the world celebrate Christmas as well as the Danes do, and not many countries can claim to have more prowess when it comes to beer than Denmark. Put 2 of the country's greatest specialties together, and what do you get? Danish Christmas beer, of course. What is J-Dag? The first day of Denmark's Christmas celebrations. The event has occurred every year since 1985, except for 2020. On J-Dag, trucks carry a lot of Tuborg Christmas beer. Trucks typically drive around Denmark's main cities. Those in the crowd can get free drinks as they're handed over. But the celebrations don't stop with the trucks. Bars in Copenhagen and beyond also stock up on Joelbrug, with their sales commencing that day. Many Danes take full advantage, and you can expect a pretty wild night out if you find yourself in Denmark at the time. Dag means day. Dag means day. J-Dag. When? How? What? Where? Is it an important tradition? J-Dag is a relatively new tradition. The first non-commercial version was hosted in 1985. Since then, however, it has become one of the most important dates in many Danes' calendars. But how did it come about? Oh, man. Y'all want to know how old I am? Boom. Answer. look at I can't find the story behind Joburg. Yeah, we're not getting a story. Chad says, should research what is a hodag. I have to be careful about just doing what people say. I got to make sure, what is a hodag? It sounds a little dangerous. A fearsome creature in American folklore resembling a large bull-horned carnival with a row of thick curved spines down its back. It was said to be born from the ashes of a cremated oxen. As the incarnation of the accumulation of abuse the animals had suffered at the hands of their masters. The hodag, licking stick, is designed to replicate natural licking sticks that occur in the wild, allowing you to place it in an area of your choice to improve your ability to capture deer on camera or stop them for a shot when you are on stand. The hodag is a mythical, mischievous creature that was first discovered in Rhinelander in the late 19th century. We have 3 hodags. There's in Wisconsin hodag history. Long live the hodag. Okay. Hodag. There's a hodag. The Rhinelander Chamber of Commerce. Oh, man. This looks like a performance. A performance. Ever seen a maned wolf? You wouldn't think it's real. Maned wolf. Cool. Maned wolf. That almost looks like a fox. I wonder how big that is. A large canine of South America. Resemble those of foxes, but it is neither a fox nor a wolf. It is the only species, meaning golden dog. It weighs 44 to 66 pounds. That's 20 to 30 kilograms. You know, the craziest looking wolf called a Chihuahua. It's the craziest looking wolf I've ever seen. How do you spell Chihuahua? Chihuahua? misspell it and see if it can correct me. Chihuahua. I don't know how to spell Chihuahua. Tiny dog. Good. The Chihuahua tiny dog. Chihuahua. Huahua. The Chihuahua. Strangest looking wolf I've ever seen. There you go. Oh man, looks more like a cat. I guess the domestics look very strange compared to the wilds. There we go. Upcycle spelled it for me. Chihuahua. See if you can get a video of it walking. Let's try it out. The Maine wolf video.
The Maine
It's got some long legs. Yeah, it looks like it's galloping like a horse. Pretty cool. Boom. Mwahaha. It rhymes. Oh man. I watched a video the other day of like it was some kind of large cat jumping into the water on top of a crocodile, and I think this photographer is like, I think I'm done. Like some kind of a photographer got this video of a large cat attacks crocodile. Wild video. Anyways, it was on Instagram. Here we go. What would you like us to know about you that you haven't yet revealed? Well, I'm going to keep my clothes on. Oh, golly. A squirrel just jumped in the air and it missed. And then it did this backflip and like grabbed the branch underneath it. It was wild. What would you like us to know about you that you haven't yet revealed? Us. No. I'll think about it. I think my big thing right now is that I want to be useful and helpful. And it's not clear how to do that. I can do that like my child threw up last night and I was able to be helpful, right? So I am being useful and helpful, but you know, it would be cool to be more useful and helpful. it'd be cool to be able to use all this stuff, all this experience. But I'll think about it. I'll come back to it. Let's see. Bubble. Even a house cat is dangerous if you try to put it into water. Even a shrimp. Like, I've been fishing. This is one of the things you might not know about me is I am pretty good at fishing. But I've done fishing in the ocean with live shrimp. And when you pick up that live shrimp, it will begin attacking you. Like a little bitty shrimp on the tip of its tail has these sharp points, and it can attack you. And, all of a sudden you could get an infection. Like everything. The world is dangerous. Even the shrimp is dangerous. Have you seen the artificial womb where they throw a sheep fetus into a lamb? Have not seen that. They grow a sheep fetus into a lamb. I have not seen that. I did see a video of a green-eyed something that was they called it some kind of a chimera from a lab. I feel really good. That's what I want you to know about me. I feel really good. I feel really at peace. And I think Chad's been a big part of that. I want y'all to know that. So, like, when I did mind-altering substances, it doesn't compare to how I feel now. So, I feel really good. Thank you, Chad. I feel peace. I feel at peace. That's interesting that there's peace available. So what would you like us to know about you that you haven't yet revealed? I feel great. I don't know if y'all knew it. Let's see. I spent a lot of time in the Zeitgeist Movement forums. I don't know if I want you to know that about me. Let's see. The resource-based economy, all that. If you got a chance to ask a question to JBP, what would that be? Man, I like that. I like the prompt. You can treat me like the artificial intelligence prompting me. So yeah, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling better than I've ever felt in my entire life. And thank you, Chad, for helping me get there. That's what I would want you to know. It has something to do with being helped. Being on a team. And I think that things can get better. Things could get worse, but I think things could get better as well. And then upcycle. If you got a chance to ask a question to JBP, what would that be? Are you hiring? That would be. That's my thing with everybody. I want to do some work with people. I have this resume. I have this experience. I feel like if they pulled me onto their team, it would be good. So that'd be my question. Are you hiring? Nick, I don't know if I want to say this. I think that name probably like, I guess the in the back of my mind is the Nick is someone who's got more. There's more hate directed toward him, and usually that's people who hate usually do it because they perceive hate, whether it's there or not, is perceived. So, would I want to work for Nick? Would I want to work? I tried to connect with what's his name? Yeah, I'm willing to work with people. Hey, Hezi, Shalom. I think that means peace, right? Let's check it out. Fine, Shalom. Is it like in Hawaii they say aloha, Shalom, and then I think Tayo used some Arabic. Peace, harmony, wholeness, completeness, prosperity, welfare, and tranquility. All those words tied up in one. Can be idiomatically hello and goodbye. Greeting in Jewish culture. And then there's a peace be to you. Yeah, Hazy, I've been feeling some peace. And yeah, I hope you're doing well. I feel like you're trying to put out good into the world. I've paid attention to some of your videos on your channel. I've got your last one. I haven't watched it yet, but it seems like a theme of trying to put good out into the world, trying to be a light. Thank you for that. Let's see. I watch enough a lot for his insights. All right, give me an insight, Bubble. And let's see. Give me an insight. What's an insight that comes to mind? I learned a lot from him, but I'm not America first since I live in the Netherlands. Oh, yeah. I'm not America first either. And I'm in America, in the United States. Honestly, I'm probably like wife and children first. I think that's probably what most people are. If you were a man like myself, I would understand if you were wife and children first. So somehow that gets connected into your government. But I don't like paying my taxes. It is not a pleasure paying my taxes. My taxes are spent in ways I disagree with. I don't know if any of my taxes are spent in a way that I agree with. So that's why I want a new nation, so that I can feel good about paying taxes. Insight. A lot of politicians are some other country first instead of your own country first. It's more like a me first, though. Like it can be a me first, and then you can understand, like, I don't know how far you've gone into exploring what it would be like to be these people, but I think you could imagine that someone could threaten for example, someone could threaten my wife and children. And it's like, well, is it my country first, or is it my wife and children first? And so then you can end up acting in ways that serve another country because they've got you. And that would be the struggle. It's like, do you put God over your wife and children? Or do you put your wife and children up there? It's like, and then you can't equate your country with God, right? But yeah, that would be a difficult situation. I imagine very difficult situations for the representatives. And there is a way to create an environment which is less susceptible to corruption. And so, yeah, I feel sorry for those people. This is why we need a new nation that is less susceptible to corruption, where we protect our representatives from them needing to act in ways, where they become compromised. Like you can create an environment that's conducive for corruption or not. And we don't have an environment. Show me a world where there's an environment that's not conducive for corruption. Show me a government that's done it. And then even the definition of corruption is going to depend on your hierarchy of values. Like, why would country first be at the top of your hierarchy? You can watch it now with the wars that are going on. Your reality is being mediated. Everyone's reality is being mediated. So when you watch it, it's there's things that are not being shown. It's like we all have blind spots, and then whenever people mediate your reality, they can pick what you remain blind to. So we've got to be careful. True, Gavin, a lot of them are pressured into allegiance with an outside country. Yeah. There's incentives, and then there's even like the threats. So there's incentives and there's threats. And you have to construct an environment where good people will want to go and serve in government without the threats. It can be done. Bringing this into the spotlight is a good thing. But that is just one insight. So an insight would be, for me, a solution to a problem, right? And so what happens in our mediated reality is that people are incentivized to talk about problems, but there's no serious conversation about solutions, right? So if I raise my hand up and say, hey, I got a solution, it's like, who's that guy, right? The people with solutions can be ignored. They can be put into the blind spots by the mediators of reality who control the media. So what I did at one point is I look at Fuentes and try to go work for him. Like I've tried to do that with a lot of people. Try to be someone with solutions who's going to go in and try to help and work for people and see where that gets you. It's not a fun experiment. A solution would be having more, in your case, America First Media. So America First Media, right? Is that the America for, like, imagine there's a person who has no children and no family who wants to, like their goal is pleasure, to just have the most toys before they die, right? And it's like, compare that with someone who wants to build a nation that can produce good fruit for the entire world, even after they die. It's like, you can say America First Media, but what the hell does that mean? Right? Do you want an America that gives you all of your toys and protects your toys? Or do you want an America that benefits the whole world? That, like, if you, for example, you look at Jesus, did Jesus do a Jesus first? Like Jesus said, whatever you do to the least of these, you do to me, right? Simultaneously claiming to be the King of Kings. So it's like, that's pretty good. That's not so like America First would be like actually anti-Christian, Like if you're gonna be America first, I say that and I feel chill bumps because um, I know there's a lot of people who claim to be Christian who might not like that. So I think you actually have to go create a new nation. I don't think you can, I'm not sure that you can restore America. I don't think you can make America like a Christian nation. I think you have to go create a Christian nation. Like, I don't think America first is not a Christ first, right? So it's not anti-Christian to take good care of your country and have some sovereignty. I think you're right. But you're basically empowering your enemies, like in America, with all the diversity, you end up with enemies fighting for um, what they want. What's in it for me? WIFM. That's a cool acronym. I'll look it up. What's in it for me? WIFM. WIFM is an acronym that stands for What's in it for me. And so that's what you have with diversity, is what's in it for me. So, yeah, the whole idea of like freedom of religion, yeah, I would call into question that one. Here we go. I caught one. I caught one. Let's see. Hello, sir.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, Michael?
Oh, pretty good. I'm glad I figured you probably aren't going to been on here for a while, so I don't know how much longer you were planning to stick around, but I wanted to at least say hello and whatnot. But yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for coming in and saying hello. What's interesting is I brought up this kind of Christian nationalism topic, and I've never heard anyone really talk about it except for you.
Yeah, that's because I follow all of these people on Twitter that nobody in our corner follows. Like, there's a whole little world of people talking about it, like in churches. Some good, some bad, you know.
What's the bad?
I think the bad is that people want to, impose a particularly narrow view of Christianity onto a nation. Like,
Sounds about right.
yeah. I mean, because I think there are some problems with like the way that we've moved away from. I guess like the way that our Constitution was framed. It talks about God being the source of our rights and things like that, but it's not a very specific definition of God. It's very vague, and at the time when everybody believed in God, I think that was a good idea because it allowed for differences. But now it's got no teeth left to it. So, secularism or atheism is kind of the core. Because I think that it really would be good if people could, like, I don't think you need to have a Christian nation if you had a theistic nation. Like, if everybody basically says, well, we agree that there's some sort of God that created things, and you can debate about who that is and their characteristics, but the default position is that all thoughts about God are simply private and don't have any bearing on public life.
What if you got rid of lying? Like, because I imagine there's people who are theistic who are okay with lying, telling lies.
Hmm.
So there's probably some principles underneath the theism which we'd want to figure out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting because.
What do you think about lying? Do you tell lies? Would you tell
Yes.
lies?
I mean, I do tell lies. I tell lies a lot, probably to myself the most.
Yeah.
I would say I wouldn't say I tell say things that I blatantly know are untruth, but I shape my interpretation of the truth to suit my own interests. Um,
So it's like unintentional and you have bias, is what you're saying.
yeah, and I think everybody kind of does that. Uh,
But there are people who actually will intentionally lie
mhm,
and will claim to be theistic.
yeah,
I don't like the lying, the deception. It would be nice if we could trust people. That would be nice.
yeah. I mean, I think that the desire. I mean, I think there's sort of a problem in that people will willfully believe all sorts of lies because it gives them that sense of like trusting in a worldview that is like coherent. Like I think that's kind of the appeal of like a more cult like religion.
Well, I mean, even if it like people might feel that something is coherent even when it's incoherent,
Hmm.
but I think that happens too.
Yeah. Well, it's actually interesting because I was emailing somebody today, and I don't know because you said you read The Hiding Place, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
It shaped me.
Hmm. But what's such an interesting thing in there is that there's that one part where Corey is talking to her sister Noli, who her married sister that lives elsewhere in the town or whatever, and they're talking about like, is it right to lie
Hmm.
for like the greater good or whatever?
Right.
And Corey decides that she's going to lie when the Nazis come and ask if they're hiding Jewish people in their home,
Right.
and she feels. I think you said like basically she was like, kind of like she was able to say the words that were not technically true with like a straight face and more composure than was naturally her ability. Like she was in a
They tra-
natural.
they trained her though. Like they had to
Yeah.
train her and get her to practice. And
Right. Right. But so that's what she did. But then her sister said, I'm not gonna lie,
yeah,
and they had the teenagers that were like hidden under the floor, like under a carpet or whatever, and
yeah.
like there's a trap door, and then like they said like, are you hiding anybody? And she said, yes, they're under the carpet, and the soldiers were like, ha ha ha, and they just left, and they didn't even check. So they were both able to act according to their convictions, and God used both because it's interesting because deception, in the Bible, like especially like in the book of Genesis, it's like an ongoing theme where first of all like the serpent deceives Eve, but then it's kind of like a lot of the righteous people, I would say, learn from that and say like, oh, deception is a tool that can be used, and there's many examples of the righteous people deceiving the wicked people, I guess you could say, or God works through that means of deception.
Let me let me toss this in because you've heard me mention like a mind reading instrument, and it's a good thought experiment.
Hmm.
So we mentioned principle of truth. What about principle of love? So like as even better than that, it's like wouldn't it be nice to know that the people, uh, representatives, people with power and influence are that they love everyone unconditionally? Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes, I mean I don't think you'll find anybody that fulfills that role.
I mean, I've started feeling love more so,
Hmm.
unconditional love more so recently, and so I think there's a potential for there existing of people that nobody's looking for who are who have the capacity to love unconditionally.
Yeah.
And I think you could even get a device and measure it. Like I really do. You could measure someone, like the love that a mom has for their child, like our father for their child, unconditional love. And you could even measure that, and you could measure it like as you encounter your enemy or the worst person on earth. Like you can find people. I think you can find people like that.
Yeah, but I mean, even that. Well, I don't know.
Would you want them to be
Unconditional.
your leader? Would you
Well,
want?
no. Unconditional love is such a hard thing to define, because I think we'd say like there are mothers, or there are mothers who would do anything to protect their child from harm, but at a certain point, the desire to protect your child from harm does harm to your child. So
Well, yeah,
so I
but
mean,
but that isn't.
I mean,
It can be misguided. You're saying love can be misguided.
yeah, I mean, well, because unconditional. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Because we say like God loves us unconditionally, and yet He allows things that we do not enjoy. It's because He ultimately knows that they are for our good, but like that's not a responsibility many of us would want. We would not want to be in charge of doling out pain and suffering when necessary, or even I mean that also that even means like what is the greatest good, because it seems like that's one thing it seems like to me, is that a lot of the sufferings and pain and things are how we view them is very dependent on our definition of what is good. And I think God views it like us becoming like Him as a good, and of course He did suffer, and suffers immensely, because He's a
Restate it. Like God, the good. What God wants is us to know God, to have a relationship with God.
Mhm. Yeah, but I think that knowing means understanding. Like that's why you look when it talks about the early apostles were like counting it
Is it an
as
understanding? Like, is it an understanding?
well. Well, what I'm saying is, they counted it as joy, like when they were persecuted for the sake of Christ. But because I think they could understand His suffering through their own suffering, and I think that's a thing that we all see, because like my wife's mother passed away before we got married, and that's a tragic thing. But many times she's been able to comfort and have a more immediate connection with other people who have lost a parent.
Right.
So, that shared suffering has a good aspect.
Right.
I mean, I think that's why I say it's we have to define some things about like what is good, because like it seems like a lot of people tend to gravitate to, without really thinking about it, like a lack of suffering is like the ultimate good.
I mean, you have like the Noahide laws, like don't kill, right? Uh, don't cause harm to people, unnecessary harm. Yeah, don't kill people. Don't steal from people. Don't torture animals. Like there'd be some. Those would be like you can avoid doing those. I would put it this way: there are leaders who do that, who kill and who steal and who torture animals and don't care about it. Right. So,
Yeah.
like, I can go to the most simple thing of not good. Obviously, I can't. Like, I'm not saying, like, I think God can use it. I mean, to your point about your wife's mom dying, like, I definitely think it can all be used. And I know your bigger point is that there can be a misguided love.
Yeah.
This is where there would be you need to be able to receive feedback from people. So like the current state of the world is that I don't really have a way to provide feedback to Joe Biden. Right. So Joe Biden is not my superior. Right. There's no one on earth who is my superior. I'm practicing looking at people as, hey, we're people. So that's but I am disconnected from the people making decisions. That's a problem. And so when someone has misguided love, it would be good if others could provide feedback, especially if there's an important decision being made by someone with influence and power. But in our current world where there's corruption, there's a disconnect. There's an inability to receive feedback from those who might have a spiritual gift that would allow them to see into the blind spots of the people who are making decisions.
Yeah, I definitely think that there is a need. Well, I mean, that's what I'm going to say. Like, there's a need for us to figure out how different types of people can be elevated to positions of influence. Because, like, right now, our kind of sorting methods tend to result in only certain particular types of people ever being in charge of a lot of really important things.
Well, it happens in church too. Like what's interesting is like, so the church can have a website or can have like a way for people to communicate and provide feedback to solve this problem. There's a decision being made. Let's call it the Pope. The Pope's making a decision. If I'm in the Catholic Church, it's like, I should have the ability to receive revelation from God and provide feedback to the Pope to help the Pope see into blind spots which they have so that we can be a better team, a better body, ears and eyes for the Pope. That's, and that's just an example. It could be any denomination, any church, any size.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a problem that exists, which can be solved, which could be solved in a way which could be shared across many bodies, right, including government bodies. Denominations and religions. We're not doing that. We could.
I think that's a difficult problem that we should work towards. But it may always remain a difficult problem. I think it may always be something that like humans have to actively work towards. I think that's a big problem. Is that
you don't want to ever say I'm done. Like,
we always want to get a system that we can leave to run and not have to
maintain it.
But I don't think that's the way it works because I thought about that too with churches. Like, I think it's really easy for churches to like sort themselves out to like people of very similar personalities. Like maybe if you say like along that big five, I think we may have talked about this before. Because you have like that high openness is like the artsy creative people. You're going to get your church is going to be all full of them, but then you're going to have problems because you don't have any of the conservative people who want to maintain the tradition and don't want things to change. But, so then you have two different churches that are both handicapped in some ways.
Disintegrated.
Yeah. And so you have to figure out how to get those people to work together. And it may not necessarily have to be on the level of local church. I think I said this I know I've written this somewhere else, but like, I almost think because like for a normal family, I don't think it's good probably to stay like in one church from cradle to grave for the normal family. I think there are some churches where it's a good place for like young families to be. And then as your kids get older, it's probably good if you were in a place where there's like more outreach, there's more interaction with the world. And then, as you're an adult or whatever, various other things. Like maybe it's a place where you go back to that other kind of church where there's more opportunity for you to be involved in, young families or something like that, So, but the problem is that, people kind of don't want to, very rarely does a pastor ever say, I think it would be really great if you took your family to another church that would really benefit you more. Like even if they kind of know that's true, they don't want to do that. So,
That's a good point. It's like there's some kind of cultural norms that we've developed where we, for better or worse, it's this whole idea of the environment providing conditioning, which can incentivize certain types of behavior or, cause you to avoid certain kinds of behavior is really important. Like the fact that a pastor would have it would be difficult for a pastor to communicate that someone should leave. I'm sure that could be solved.
Well, it would be much easier if churches were working together on larger scale things, because because it could be that you have a church where you're saying, once your kids are teenagers, we think you should go to that church. But then when people walk into the door at that church and they start to have little kids, then they say, go to this other, go to the first church or whatever. Like when, because it is a different thing. You want to protect your kids when they're little in different ways. You want to gradually expose them to
Yeah.
risk and, things like that for their
I could get nerdy on it. I mentioned it in a DM to someone else, and it's like nerdy. There's this thing called open protocols. Like the reason we're communicating with each other is because there was a standard protocol that everyone was able to use in order to build with. Right? It's kind of like, you understand, like in construction, there's standards. There's standards for the way to do certain things, or like even the jacks on your phone. There's a standard port. In order for people to build a ship to dock with the International Space Station, there's standards, open standards that are communicated. But the church there's no standards by which, for example, people can create a small group, or, for example, seek out a small group, or to create a church or seek out a church, such that the churches would be integrated, so that you could, all of a sudden, it would be very easy for you to learn, oh, looks like this is a church that I should go to, right? Or this is a small group for me, or something like that. Like there's ways to do that today. If this whole thing was, if there was cooperation, right? If the people who are making decisions all over the place were somehow had the capacity to collaborate, it's missing. There's some like technical knowledge that's missing. Like it's kind of a move even in business, where a lot of companies will see like, oh, we need to have our own IT department. It's like, could Jesus Christ Church on Earth have an IT department? It's like, I think they can. I think they're going to do IT department for the church.
Yeah.
Jesus didn't teach about this, I don't think.
No. Well, I do think it's weird. I think because there's just a couple of things happening, I feel like, and it's difficult to see like on a global scale or the big scale of things, like, because I think there's a lot of uncertainty that makes people want to go back toward like known and trusted, institutions. But then there are also all these different tools and like knowledge that's available to us through the internet and all these things, where people are also like some walls and boundaries and barriers are breaking down a little bit. So, but it's kind of interesting because those things are sort of like happening at the same time in different places.
Well, what does like the second coming of Jesus look like?
Well, that's that's a debatable thing.
If you're retreating into like a tradition, is that what the second coming looks like?
I don't think so. I think it's odd, because I think, I've changed a lot of my views about these things recently, mostly from like, this is the way I think it is, to now I'm not sure about things. Like but I think, like what you think about some of that stuff is really important. I think there's always kind of I don't know. I don't think we can fully escape like the need to protect and conserve things, and the need to like reach out and communicate and be open. Like we always kind of need both these things. But and I think like what people believe about things like the second coming or play a big impact on that. Because I definitely for a long time was thinking like we're close to the end and anything could happen at any minute, and kind of having that like that view that everything will necessarily like become some totalitarian nightmare. And you hear this kind of thinking a lot, and like the world is all going to get terrible, and then like Jesus is going to come back. But then I found out that there's other people that think, well, no, eventually it's going to become better and better over time as more and more people come to know Jesus. And I think it's kind of crazy. Like, got into this big kind of discussion on the CRC Voices email thing, a little bit about like is like the fact that like Christianity is like kind of connected to like Western civilization, kind of like Tom Holland's Dominion book, that whole kind of notion. And people are saying like, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? And then like, I like to watch a bunch of those videos. It's like on Insider Business or whatever, and they talk about all these weird different like jobs that people have all over the world, like these weird little industries. And there's all these terrible like things happening in a lot of like Islamic countries. Like people are like baking mud bricks. It's literally like reading the book of Exodus. These people are like digging in the dirt all day, firing these bricks in like kilns. They are making like pennies a day. Their lives are just terrible, And
until they create a YouTube channel, and then all of a sudden they make money. I've
Well,
watched
no,
these
this is-
YouTube channels.
yeah.
I'm just saying, like, it's really cool watching people do that. But
yeah, well, I mean, most of these ones, it's just it's just regular journalists going and finding these people, and doesn't really help them at all. But like it's like the Stone Age still exists in the world, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think that there is something to the fact that certain ideological beliefs have allowed technology to spread, and technology is not inherently evil or inherently good. I think it is tools, and I think that new technology reveals like because people talk about like how one of the problems with the internet is that it led to internet pornography. Well, the desire for internet pornography was already in people. They just didn't have the means. Once the means was made available, it reveals that people had a strong desire for that.
Well, sometimes sometimes these things actually are like the catalyst. Like so these things that are not good will end up causing a thing to grow or grow rapidly.
Right. Well, I mean, because that's the thing. Because I mean, at some point we would probably, maybe on a much smaller scale, like realize, like that if these things are too widely available, like people have a hard time, using it responsibly, and so therefore, they got put into like black plastic bags, and they were behind the counter at the gas station, and you had to like, you had to jump through a bunch of hoops if you had to really, really want it to get the access before. And now, and so obviously like people went through those steps because like they realized that unlimited access to this stuff is not good, and so we've kind of done that again with the internet age. Now we have to create new versions of the black plastic bag or whatever, for the internet age. But I mean, I think overall, it's like starvation and things like that. Like those problems are so much more manageable in many parts of the world, but they're still prevalent in these other parts of the world, and it's not because of resources and things. Like I was talking about, so Afghanistan, they have like $1 trillion, at least $1 trillion worth of mineral resources. Like they have like $1 billion worth of copper, and they have all these gems and other metals and all sorts of things that are useful in our current day. But basically they just are mined by people little ragtag groups, and kind of like smuggled out of the country because they're not interested in building the infrastructure and dealing with like the rest of the world to where they could actually flourish. So, and then you have people living in stone huts and just subsisting on pennies a day. And like, it's not because like that's just an unlucky country. It's because they have like bad ideas, that they're clinging to.
There's so I don't know a lot about those places, but I do know that like there's natural resources that are create an environment. There's going back to environments, right? There's environments that are conducive for thriving and flourishing, and so you can't ignore that, right? So I happen to live in a place where it's a like the ecosystem has a lot of diversity, and there's this it's lush, it's
Yeah.
a Garden of Eden. If you're born into a Garden of Eden, you're going to have opportunities that you didn't have born into a desert. So, but you could take that spiritually and physically. But I don't know. Yeah, you could probably I suspect that you could study locations around the world and correlate the opportunity for people based on the natural resources that are available. So when you talk about, so for example, like you can go out and just start eating out of the wild, right here. You can have an abundance. Like how difficult is it to have an abundance, or and a, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So I wouldn't my whole point is I wouldn't discount that when talking about other countries. I think sometimes people discount like how they dismiss the abundance of resources that a location offers. It's if I want to go into a desert, I'm going to need to bring resources from this area of abundance in order to invest into the infrastructure, and so that there can be a transformation such that the carrying capacity of that place increases and the abundance and the opportunity to thrive changes.
Right. Well, yeah, that's like, because if I offered you to sell you 2 plots of land, and one of them, was full of gold, but there was no plants that could grow there, and the other one is full of, fruit trees or whatever, your current state of hunger is really going to have a big impact on which one you think is a better value.
And the difficulty in getting that gold, right? All the things you would need that are prerequisites for getting the gold.
But I think there have been places, where there was gold popping up out of the ground, and it didn't really help people because they didn't have food to eat. So
yeah.
And interestingly, I know there's a few tribes in various places where basically they have not developed any culture at all because they have abundant food, so they don't need to. They just are like, well, the food's there. You just pick it up on the ground. Like, why would you work? Why would you dig in the ground when you can just grab food anytime you want? So, right. Which, I guess that brings back to the point of I think God allows some of these difficult circumstances because he's trying to steer us in a direction. But, I think it's just, it's unfortunate that there's some sets of beliefs that will keep people from pursuing some, things that are within their interest.
For me, there's just a question of what is God's will, right? And what would God will I do? And there's there's how many people are how hard is it for each individual to do God's will, and how many people are actually doing it? And what if people who are practiced at doing God's will could come together? Maybe when is it my agency or God's will, that, there would be I don't know, could there be 144,000 people, or could there be a New Jerusalem? And it's like, well, how does that happen? Is it that all of a sudden people are called and they kind of like sleeper agents are just activated, at the right time? So I don't know exactly how it all plays out, except that it feels like sometimes I see things and I want to share what I see. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think you should check out some things so I've listened to a bunch of things about post-millennial eschatology, and that's kind of basically the idea that first, like everybody in the world is going to know about like Christ, and then Christ will come back or whatever. Like, and like that the world will basically become like, I guess you could say like the Garden of Eden, or the Messianic age will happen, and then the actual Messiah will come. And then I think like then there's not, and then it's just eternity. There's not like a literal 1,000 years or whatever. But I don't know if I like the. I think there's advantages to having a literal 1,000 years, but I like that direction of like, well, if we're doing these things, like why wouldn't the world be getting like better and better? But I think even if that's true, like there's going to be like cycles where you could always you could always look at the world as getting better and worse at the same time. And I think we're always going to have these kind of circumstances and scenarios, because like there's a lot of people who think like this is the end times because like things that go on in Israel and stuff like that, or because of wars and disease. But I think that we've always had things that could make us think that. And the question is like, does that make us like hunker down and hide in a bunker somewhere, or does it make us go out and try to reach the people? And even then, is it just to reach people with the message of Christ, which obviously I think that's the most essential thing, or is it to also feed them? Because I think, like, as I look at these people like in Afghanistan and stuff, and like we can't go in there because the Taliban won't let us in. But like, how much of the population is the Taliban? Like, I don't know, 5% or something, maybe. And like 95% of the people have a horrible life because of that 5%, and we won't go in there. And it's like we could go in there and share the gospel with them, and that would be the thing that they need. But what they would need first would be like food. So you give them food, and then you say, I risked coming here to bring you food because I wanted to tell you about true food, like spiritual food or whatever.
Right.
So you have to have both. You have to have both things. Like you have to. Because you have to actually give the bread and the cup of water and clothe the naked. And
well, I mean, to me, it brings up the point of military, because there's a lot of people who are fans of the military as it is, and it's like, in my mind, I see a military that could operate in different ways. That where you're not killing, that you could actually go and do operations. Like, so you could go into Afghanistan without killing anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's ways to do it. And there's, you can have a nation that has a military that goes in and operates in ways which don't kill people. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just saying, like, for me, everybody's doing it wrong. And we'll always be doing it wrong, to your point about, and, but there's patterns that have to exist within these bodies for there to be improvement, transformation towards the good. And nobody seems to be doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm focused on trying to do it right, kind of as a father,
Yeah.
I get to do what I'm doing here. I get to practice. But it would be nice to, I just like the idea of putting out the invitation on the internet and saying, hey, if there's anybody else out there who wants to try to make these things better, we should connect up. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how many people are actually interested in that. And like, you've got the spreading the good news piece, but then there's also like, what does a spiritual war look like? How do you fight corruption? So I'm interested in that. And there's ways of doing it, I think, that are better than other ways.
Well, and I think it would be like, this is the thing where it's like, I see, so churches always have like these different emphases, and it would be so much better if they could figure out how to work together, because you could say like, hey, we're not good at like doing stuff, but we love to go talk to people and like just go talk to random people on the street. And, like, I don't like doing that. And you say like, but if you need somebody to just like work for 8 hours a day or whatever, like I could do that, if you need people like cooking meals, like I could, whatever, I could do that. Or, obviously I can build things, and like, So you have to, so you have the different people together, and you don't make everybody try to fit into one thing. Like let the people be good at what they're good at, and use all those collective resources, and obviously be much more successful. I think I also kind of have this thing that I keep in mind, like tents over temples, and I think that's the thing because like we always try to think of like what would be the greatest, most perfect, ideal solution to XYZ, which would be like to build a temple. And we spend so much time thinking about that we never actually get anything done. Where we say like, let's set up a tent first. Let's set up a tent, and then we can start doing what we're doing. And while we're doing, we can think about the temple, but we'll build a tent. And so I kind of think of like that is like because we have this problem with like what like hypotheses actually get tried in real life, and I think we need to speed up that process or whatever. Like, so we should just be like coming up with new ideas and trying them and seeing if they like work or don't, like really fast, rather than just trying to come up with the one perfect solution in a vacuum for years and years and years.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. The in the software world, we call that something like agile. That comes to mind. But you do things in small slices. You iterate. You get feedback. You don't want to go off into your cave and work for 3 years and come out and say, "Here it is."
Right.
It's not what you want to do. So, but yeah, and that to that point, like trying to be practicing being a Christian father and husband is that's like the tent, But it's but there's also like I don't know how to communicate the things that I'm seeing, such that there would be a interest in participation, right? So yeah, I mean we can encourage people to participate in their tent. That's good, but at some point, it seems like you could have you can do more, and you can scale it,
right? So, but even to say like, keeping with the tent thing, like, so you're like convective heat engine thing, like that's a really big project, right? So yeah, but if you can like, so if we even just whatever, like that's what I've been trying to do with my tectonic school thing, and I haven't really, I haven't been able to focus as much time on as I'd like, but the goal is always to kind of keep it like at a minimal level of like requirement to like entry, because people like if you say like, hey, would your church consider doing this on Saturdays or something, like, or maybe whatever, once a month, something with volunteers, something small, something easy to kind of get up and going. That's better than waiting for the whole thing to be built or whatever. So I think if we can figure out how to make those projects that you only need one or two other people to help you with to get done, like that's a good practice, I guess, for getting people to like work together and work on things.
Well, there's a so we have our day job. It would be nice to eventually, I've heard you say it too, to eventually that your day job would be the thing that you feel like would help, the body of Christ, right? And obviously your day job is a tent, you can do it there too. But it'd be nice to be able to focus and dedicate more time and energy to, building something that people would value, or participating in the body in a way which is valuable. And I've learned already, if you just go build something and say here, and you try to sell it, it's like that doesn't necessarily work. It's like you kind of have to make sure that you have buy-in, that people have an appetite for the thing that you want to build. That's what I've learned. So it's part of what when you say convective heat engine, it's like that is like that's far away, but in order for that to work, you have to figure out what your education system should look like. You have to figure out what it would look like if you were, what kind of diet would you have? What kind of, what do you eat? How do you handle your waste? How do you do waste management? These are things you can solve in communities anywhere. People with their tents coming together to figure these things out, all over the place and making mistakes, but then coordinating together. Like IT, I think helps integrate everyone such that there can be better learning, better sense making.
Mhm.
I hear my youngest. Do you hear my youngest?
Yep.
I might need to go be principal
Okay.
for the homeschool.
Uh,
I get to be principal sometimes. I'm going to mute and let you say any closing words, Michael.
okay. Well, people should go look at my Tectonic School thing, tectonicschool.com. That'll take you to the Substack. It's mostly writing. There's some videos, but it's mostly writing right now. And yeah, tents over temples.
Let's see. And how do I spell it, Michael?
TECTONICSCHOOL.
All right. I went there. Oh, there. I got it. All right. I'm going to drop a link. Tents over mega projects, temples.
Mm-hmm.
And then let me pay attention to the comment section. Go. All right. Well, I'm going to go be principal. I'm going to scan through these. There was some Galatians 6:2. Might be good. And then Chad mentioned something. See the show Under the Banner of Heaven and how it relates to getting revelation. Under the Banner of Heaven. And Upcycle, I got confused. I thought bricklaying was a good traditional profession which needs to be preserved. That was a good comment. Yeah, there's a question about the traditions that need to be preserved.
Bricklaying is different from making bricks by hand. That's
right. Yeah, that's the question though, is what are the traditions which should be preserved and which ones shouldn't? So, and maybe there's a way to preserve it all in some form, but only the people who want to preserve it would preserve it, by choice.
I mean, it's, you can see videos of guys who like do historical reenactments, and they show you how to make bricks by hand. Yeah. It's like, that's a cool thing to learn how to do, but you don't want to spend 50 years doing it, 6 days a week or whatever. So
I'm with you. It's fun to go dabble in some things, but you might not want to do it every day. Yeah. Digging a hole 8 hours a day gets a little bit old. All right, Michael, thank you for swinging by. Have a good one.
It's good to talk. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.